The clippers stopped. Vivian Dawson unsnapped the cape and brushed the loose hair from the old man's collar. He reached for his wallet, hands trembling. She placed her palm over his and shook her head. "This one's on me, sir." His eyes filled. He nodded once, slow, heavy, and walked out without a word. 30 seconds later, her boss called her into the back office. The door closed. Through the glass, Denise Whitmore's hands sliced the air like blades. She walked out carrying her bag and her clippers.
You're fired!
Over a free haircut. But that old man? He wasn't just anybody. And what happened next, nobody saw coming. Let's rewind. 48 hours before that haircut changed everything. 5:45 a.m. Church Hill, Richmond, Virginia. The alarm didn't go off. It didn't need to. Vivian Dawson was already awake, standing in the narrow kitchen of a one-bedroom apartment she shared with her grandmother. The iron hissed against her salon smock, pressing each crease flat with the kind of care most people reserve for Sunday church clothes. On the refrigerator behind her, a chore chart written in purple marker, a photograph of her late grandfather in army dress uniform, and an overdue electric bill held up by a magnet shaped like a cross. Tanya Dawson shuffled in wearing slippers and a housecoat, already mid-sentence before her feet hit the linoleum. "You ironing that thing like it's a wedding dress. They don't pay you enough for all that pressing." Vivian smiled without looking up. "Grandma, presentation is half the job. The other half is tips." Tanya opened the fridge, stared into it like it owed her something, and closed it again. "And last month's tips didn't cover the light bill." She wasn't wrong. Vivian knew exactly how much was in the checking account. $211. Rent was $885, due in 9 days. The math didn't work. It hadn't worked in 3 months. But she pressed the smock anyway, hung it on the door hook, poured Tanya a cup of coffee, 1 sugar, no cream, and grabbed her bag. "I'll figure it out, Grandma." "You always say that." "Because I always do." Tanya watched her granddaughter walk out the front door into the gray morning light and said nothing. But her hand rested on the photograph on the fridge, the one of Vivian's grandfather, Staff Sergeant Theodore Dawson, who spent 22 years cutting hair for every soldier in his unit and never charged a dime for it. The bus came late. It always came late. Vivian stood at the stop with her earbuds in, watching the neighborhood scroll past through fogged glass. Boarded-up storefronts, a corner store with iron bars on the windows, a mural of a black girl with butterfly wings that someone had painted over the summer and no one had bothered to tag. Church Hill was changing. New coffee shops on one block, plywood on the next. Gentrification moved like water, slow, steady, and selective about what it touched. Prestige Salon and Spa sat right on that edge. Glass front, white lettering, lavender in the window boxes. From the outside, it looked like it belonged 3 neighborhoods over. Inside, it smelled like developer and eucalyptus and money. Vivian's station was the smallest one, tucked near the back next to the supply closet. She'd been there 2 years. In that time, she'd built a clientele that specifically requested her. Women who drove from across town, men who trusted no one else with a fade. Her hands were precise, patient. She could look at someone's head and see what it needed before they said a word. But skill didn't buy you a bigger station. Seniority did. And Denise Whitmore, the salon owner, measured loyalty in silence, not talent. Vivian opened her station drawer and touched the notebook she kept underneath the combs and clips. Soft black cover, pages dense with sketches, floor plans, chair layouts, a hand-drawn logo. Dawson's. Her barber shop. The one she'd open someday, a place where anyone could sit down regardless of what was in their wallet. She'd been building this dream on paper since cosmetology school, where she'd graduated with honors and $18,000 in debt that followed her like a second shadow. She closed the drawer when she heard Denise's heels clicking across the floor. "Vivian, a word." Denise pulled her aside near the reception desk. Fresh flowers had appeared on the counter overnight. New signage in the window. Something was happening. "I need you to focus on booked clients only this week. No walk-ins, no freebies, no exceptions. Denise's voice was low but sharp. We have a big opportunity coming. A corporate event planner wants to book the salon for a political fundraiser. Important people. Do you understand? Vivian nodded. Her jaw tightened, but she said nothing. After Denise clicked away, a coworker leaned over from the next station. She just doesn't want the wrong people in here when the money shows up. Vivian didn't respond, but her eyes drifted to the empty chair by the window, then to the front door, where anyone could walk in. Anyone at all. She didn't know it yet, but someone was about to. The next afternoon, the front door of Prestige Salon swung open, and the wrong person walked in. Harold Caldwell stood in the entrance like a man who'd already decided he didn't belong. 78 years old, clean but worn jacket, a military veteran pin on the left lapel, trousers pressed thin at the knees. His hair was long, uncombed, curling past his ears in uneven silver waves. His hands, large, weathered, trembled at his sides. The receptionist looked up, looked him over, looked back down. Harold stepped to the counter. "Excuse me, ma'am. Could you point me toward the VA clinic? I think I took the wrong bus." The receptionist waved vaguely toward the street. 2 blocks south, I think. Maybe 3. She didn't look up again. Harold nodded, turned to leave. From the back station, Vivian watched. She saw the tremor in his hands, the pin on his jacket, the way he held himself, straight-backed, dignified, even as the world told him he was invisible. She crossed the salon floor. "Sir?" Harold stopped. "When's the last time you had a haircut?" He blinked. "Oh, I wasn't looking for... I've got an open chair." Vivian gestured toward her station. "Sit down." He hesitated. She didn't. "Please." Harold Caldwell sat down in the last chair at Prestige Salon and Spa, and for the next 20 minutes, something shifted. Vivian draped the cape around his shoulders, ran warm water through his hair. Her fingers moved the way her grandfather had taught her, slow at first, reading the scalp, finding the natural line before the clippers touched skin. Harold closed his eyes. "How long has it been?" she asked quietly. "Since a haircut? Over a year. That's a long time." "Didn't seem to matter much." He paused. "My wife used to remind me, every 3 weeks like clockwork. 'Harold, you're starting to look like a stray dog.'" A small, broken laugh. "She passed 2 years ago. Elaine. After that, I guess I stopped caring about a lot of things." Vivian's hands didn't stop moving. Clippers hummed. Hair fell. "I'm sorry about your wife, sir." She was something. His voice thinned. "Kept everything together. The house, me. After she was gone, I just sat there, in the same chair, watching the same window." Vivian worked in silence for a moment, shaping the fade above his ears. Clean, precise, the kind of cut that gives a man back 10 years. "My grandfather was military," she said. "Barber for his whole unit, 22 years. He always told me the best conversations happen in a barber's chair." Harold opened his eyes and looked at her reflection in the mirror. "Smart man." "The smartest I ever knew," she finished, removed the cape, brushed the cuttings from his collar. When she stepped back, the man in the mirror was different, sharper, cleaner, present. Harold stared at himself like he was meeting someone he'd forgotten. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his wallet. Inside, a few crumpled bills. Maybe $8, maybe less. It was everything he had, and they both knew it. Vivian placed her hand over his. "This one's on me, sir. Thank you for your service." Harold's chin trembled. He didn't speak. He reached into his breast pocket and pulled out a creased photograph. A woman with kind eyes and silver hair, laughing at something outside the frame. "Elaine," he said. "She would have liked you." He put the photograph back, stood, nodded once, and walked out the front door into the afternoon light. The clippers were still warm in Vivian's hand when Denise appeared behind her. "My office, now!" The door closed. Denise didn't sit. "What did I tell you? No walk-ins, no freebies. That man wasn't even a client." "He's a veteran, Denise. He needed a haircut." And I need a business that doesn't look like a charity. You're done, Vivian. Pack your things. No warning, no discussion. Done. Vivian packed her station in silence. Clippers, combs, cape, the notebook with the hand-drawn logo and the floor plans and 3 years of a dream folded between the pages. She walked out with her head high and her eyes dry. The other stylists watched. Not one of them said a word. Vivian's key turned the lock at 4:47 p.m. She hadn't been home this early on a weekday in 2 years. Tanya was sitting at the kitchen table with a crossword puzzle and a cup of tea that had gone cold an hour ago. She looked up. Read her granddaughter's face the way she read weather. Fast, accurate, no second guess needed. What happened? It wasn't a question. Vivian set her bag on the counter. The clippers clinked against the notebook inside. She told it straight. The old man, the haircut, the free cut, Denise's office, the walkout. No embellishment, no tears. Just facts, laid end to end like dominoes. Tanya didn't interrupt. When Vivian finished, the old woman set her pen down slowly. You did what your grandfather would have done. Don't you dare feel ashamed. I'm not ashamed, Grandma. I'm broke. The math was simple and merciless. No income, $211 in the account. Rent in 9 days. 3 months already overdue. Without a paycheck, they had maybe 3 weeks before the landlord stopped being patient. That night, Vivian sat at the kitchen table with her phone and a list of every salon within bus distance. She called 12. The first 8 weren't hiring. The 9th said they'd call back. They didn't. The 10th hung up after she mentioned Prestige Salon. The 11th answered. The owner paused when Vivian gave her work history. Prestige? Denise Whitmore's place? Yes, ma'am, I was there for 2 years. Honey, Denise already called around, told everyone you were unreliable, said you had a pattern of giving away services without authorization. A beat. I'm sorry, I can't take that risk. The line went dead. Vivian stared at the phone in her hand. Not just fired, blacklisted. Tanya's voice drifted from the living room, casual, almost too casual. Baby, did that man say his name? Vivian looked up. Harold. He said his name was Harold. Tanya was quiet for a moment, then, that's a good name, old-fashioned, the kind of name that belongs to somebody. She didn't say anything else, but something in her voice made Vivian pause. A weight, a knowing quality, as if the name meant more than 4 letters and 2 syllables. It didn't. Tanya had never heard of Harold Caldwell in her life, but the audience doesn't know that yet. Now, the other side of town. Richmond City Hall, same evening, different world. Mayor Graham Caldwell sat behind a polished oak desk wide enough to land a small plane on. Behind him, framed commendations, a wall of handshake photographs, senators, governors, a former vice president, and a window overlooking the city he ran. On his desk, a proposal for a new community development initiative. The title, printed in bold across the cover page, Small Business Uplift, Investing in Underserved Neighborhoods. His assistant knocked. Your sister called again. She says your dad isn't doing well. Graham's jaw tightened. His pen stopped moving. I'll call her back. He didn't. Later that night, alone in his office, Graham's phone buzzed. Brenda. He let it ring 4 times before answering. Graham, I'm serious. Dad's not eating. He barely leaves the apartment. He's been like this since Mom died, and you know it. I know, Brenda. You'll what? Call him? When? You haven't visited in 6 years. Not since the funeral. The one you showed up to 90 minutes late because you had a campaign event. Silence. He's your father, Graham. I said I'll handle it. He hung up, sat in the dark office. The proposal on his desk glowed under the desk lamp. Small business uplift. And the irony would have been poetic if anyone had been watching. But no one was. Not yet. 1 week later, Vivian did the only thing she knew how to do. She set up a folding chair on the sidewalk. It wasn't much. A metal chair from the kitchen, a plastic cape she'd bought at the dollar store, her clippers plugged into an extension cord that snaked through the apartment window and into the living room outlet. A hand-lettered card.